Welcome. We should be live.
Well, awesome. Welcome to the Stream of Truth. I am Dr. Tassel Faith Shanebrook.
And I'm Sean Kelly.
And today, a very interesting topic. What if everything was opposite?
Yes. What if everything was opposite? It's really interesting because I think the stream may have done one of those things where it shows the earlier conversation. And I said, right before we went live, I said, today we're talking about Lucifer.
Oh,
And I was just joking, but that would be sort of the opposite of like a sort of a Christed being, or so it's just a really interesting, weird joke for me to make right as we go live with the topic that I wasn't thinking of, and I'm not sure if it ended up on the stream or not, but either way, it's still relevant.
we can certainly talk about Lucifer as
Yeah,
well.
I wonder if they heard me talking about my beard or not. But either way, thank you for tuning in. And yeah, please bear with me. I'm really tired. Haven't been sleeping well, but I'm gonna do my best, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, opposites are really fun for me. It's a really fun topic because for me it's so contrasting, and it really highlights the polarity of everything. And it really highlights as well for me how we can look at everything however we want to, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
really we can choose every
And
aspect.
I think what seems to be true is that no matter what situation you are in, there are going to be challenges and there are going to be areas that are more comfortable, no matter what. So, and I'll just say the reason how this topic came into my consciousness was you and I just went through sort of an initiation, maybe we could say, in our relationship. There was a lot of shadow, I think, that came up for both of us, a lot around our communication,
Thank
and
you, Mercury.
and it was intense. It was really intense, and I think at some point my higher self was just sort of giving me this question, like, oh, Tassel, maybe right now you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is so difficult. Maybe sometimes my ways of being with his ways of being are so difficult. And then I believe my higher self was saying to me, well, what would it be like if, for instance, he was sort of exactly the opposite, like all of his traits were the opposite of what they are? What would that be like, Tassel? And then I was feeling into that, and I was like, that would be a whole different set of challenges and benefits in a way. It would be a different soup. It would just be a different soup.
I think I would be a nightmare. I would not enjoy myself very much. I don't think, personally.
Wait, so just for fun, it might be fun to do this. Just what would you be like, maybe in your description, if you were the opposite of who you are now? Like, what would the opposite look like?
So I'd probably be dumb. Right? I'd probably be a little slow in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking total opposite.
Yeah.
And because I'm gorgeous, I would probably be not so attractive.
You are gorgeous.
Thank you. I'm only kidding, but I'm sociable, so I'd probably be more introspective or more introverted and a little bit more pulled away.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very sensitive. So this part's odd because I'm very sensitive, but I don't often speak about my sensitivity because I don't like to continue it as much.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking if I'm not sensitive, so I wouldn't be sensitive, but I would speak about all of my thoughts. So I would be very, probably not compassionate, probably not very empathetic. I'd probably be a bit of a rude person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd probably be a bit, and then I'm also very focused on serving others. And of course, I do things that help me feel good too. But I'm very all I care about is really serving others and trying to show up to serve others. And I actually like my biggest problem with myself is I don't feel I do enough. So if I was the opposite, I'd probably be like rich, a rich like Mark Cuban type businessman because I'm pretty poor right now. So I'd probably be like very rich,
Mm.
very wealthy, kind of dumb, kind of angry, outspoken anger, like probably a little violent with my words, right? Like I would be a nightmare, I think. For like I don't think I would be uh someone that I'd want to talk to personally.
Mm.
If I was the
Mm.
opposite of myself.
Mhm.
Um and it's really interesting because there are traits of me that you are quite the opposite. And I think, we've talked about this, but these are where the biggest challenges come up because we're kind of like, why are they this way? Why why are they like Michael Scott would say, why do you choose to be the way you are? Um or no, he said something else. But anyways, why do they choose to be this way? My way's better. And like we when we're forgetting that their way's perfect, of course, that's our sort of ego that does that, right? I'm not saying I think this. Um
And
but
I'm just curious, what are the hardest, most challenging traits of mine
oh,
that
that's so easy. Um I've thought about this a lot. Um the most challenging trait that you have for me is your constant improvement mindset. Uh, it's very admirable. So there's a very good quality to it. Um, making things better than they are is a great pathway to go, right? So I don't want this to sound negative because it's not. It's a great thing. I think it's beautiful. Um, but when I'm hearing a lot of self improvement talk, but you're also so I want to also say that you're also very recognizing of the uh, goodness or the value that's being brought now, usually. So you're not usually saying we suck right now, we could do better. What you're usually saying is we're awesome, we can do better. But sometimes on my side, because I have some self judgment and self worth issues still that I'm working through, some of the constant improvement mindset can just highlight for me that I'm not doing well enough for you, right? Or that our work isn't good enough, or that no matter or how hard I'm trying isn't good enough. Um, I have a lot of the same thoughts you do about improvement, um, but I tend to back off of myself when that comes up because for me that presents usually in a sort of egoic way. Like I want to improve because I'll be a better person, or I want to improve because I'll love myself more, or I'll deserve love more if I do this. And these things are acting out of fear. So when I'm having these improvement things come up, it's for me a little bit negative. And so when you're doing it, I kind of treat your voice much like I treat my egoic voice, which is like, oh, her motivations are coming from fear. When I don't necessarily think that's always the case. Um, and we all have motivations that come from fear, but sometimes, right? Um, but that is the most challenging for me because I can feel like I'm not. It's really easy for me to find any excuse to feel like I'm not enough. So if we're talking about improvement a lot, then I can be like, can't I just be okay as I am now? Isn't that fine? Isn't that okay? Right? And that's so if we're talking about improvement, if you go through cycling of I'm really happy with how everything's going, into a improve kind of cycle that I've watched. So this is how I've observed it. It's not a bad
Mhm.
thing. Um, but in those cycles of where you're like high improvement, like you get excited and motivated, I have sort of the opposite experience of that. I get I feel a little hurt and demotivated. Um, and sometimes, like what happened on Thursday, last Thursday, it'll get to a place where I'll just I might shut down because I
Yeah.
feel just like I cannot meet expectations. Also in my past relationships, I and I think this is typical of all relationships. When the and I'm not saying this is occurring here, but in past relationships, the story is still there, and so I still see it that way sometimes. But basically, in relationships, often, especially close, intimate ones, um, when we have an issue with our partner and we tell them that we'd like them to fix this issue that we have with them, they tend to fix that issue, but the egoic part of us is never satisfied that way. We expect to be, so we're coming from good intentions. Usually, we're saying if they fix this problem, then they'll be better, or everything will be better, and I'll feel better. But often, what happens is just another issue comes up, and so
Mhm.
in my experiences with relationships, it basically felt like it did not matter at all what I did or how much I
Mm.
improved or how hard I tried. It was just there was always a new problem to address.
Mm.
And so for me, I got just so sick of hearing all these problems that I have to fix about myself.
Mm.
Every time I hear about these things, I'm like, yeah, I know I'm garbage. I get it. Like
Oh.
that's the type of internal
Mm.
dialogue that comes up.
Mm.
And so now I see that for what it is. I don't generally go down that road. But we talked last night, I think, in the Zoom, and I said, really, Tassel's the only one in my life who seems to rattle me, right? You're the only one that says these. It's because I care so much. That's really all it is. I care so much, and I'm these triggers are coming up for me to move past them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this mindset, this improving mindset. It's a beautiful thing, right? It doesn't have to be. I have this story that improvement, when it's about me or stuff I'm involved in, is a negative thing or and I realized what it was. I'd just like to share this briefly because it highlights where these stories come from for people, like how far back they go. When I was like 7 or something, I got an award for being the most improved student. Um,
Oh.
and I got the award. They didn't tell me that I was getting this award, and I got it, and I was like, this is literally just saying thank you for not being garbage anymore. Like I was a child, and I was like, I remember just being so hurt that everyone
Oh.
else got the, best, most caring, and best this,
Okay.
and most
Mhm.
this, and then I got
Mhm.
most improved. Like, so I used to be garbage, and now I'm like doing better,
Oh,
or like,
okay.
so I was like, why are
Yeah.
I get that it's so even as a child, I was like, I get that it's like good to improve, but you're basically telling me I used to be garbage. Like, and
Mm.
that really hit me.
Mhm.
And so at that age, I basically vowed to not need to improve. Uh,
Ah.
and I started to really show up in school so that I wouldn't be perceived as someone who needed to improve. And I
Mhm.
put tons and tons of pressure on myself. Um, and that pressure really like crushed me. Um,
Yeah.
and eventually I let go of the pressure, but the pain of all that still is still there. Yeah, I was 7 or something, and so a lot of
Yeah.
times these wounds, it's really important to realize like they go back really far, and so then
Yes.
that improvement, that anti-improvement type of thought or
Yeah.
or feeling judgment when anyone talks about improving
Mm.
me or things around me. Uh, it's the same story that comes up from when I remember sitting in the assembly in front of all the kids, and I'm like, now, not only are they awarding me this, but everyone here knows I used to be garbage now. Right? Like
Ah.
it was so embarrassing. I was trying not to cry going up to get my award, and
Oh.
like they could tell I was upset, but they thought I was just being nervous, and I was like, it was like torture to me.
Oh,
And you know,
wow.
it's an award. It's meant to be good. They're not trying to hurt me, but it really hurt. So
Wow.
that's really, I think, the root of it.
Yeah.
No one had suggested anything about me needing to be better until that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, prior to that, um, you know, I had been doing, I thought perfectly, right? I
Yeah.
felt pretty good about myself. And then I realized, oh, people are seeing me as needing to be better. Like that's how they're
Yeah.
seeing me. That's how I'm showing up to them. And that's hard to hear as a 7-year-old.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's
And I mean
really,
it's interesting what causes us trauma. It's really interesting. Like there's nobody to forgive that no one did anything wrong, right?
but it makes sense, everything you're
It makes
saying.
sense, but
And that
you know,
word improve does, at least the way we normally think of it, does seem to hold this energy of maybe it wasn't so great what was happening before, but oh, now you're doing great. So there's so much judgment. There's just so much judgment.
right.
Like
Yeah.
it's not like you were perfect. You were perfect then, you're perfect now. It's all good.
Yep.
Um yeah, that I'm glad to know that because it helps me understand, where you're coming from
I only
around
just
that.
realized because I was over our past, you know, thing. I was really trying to figure out like why is it so hard for me when she's wanting, like, I know that your intention is just to do things as best as you can, right? Like
Yeah.
the intention isn't to suggest that things are not good enough now. It's
Yeah.
or generally, I'm sure sometimes it may feel that things are not good enough now, but generally, I think your intention is just to highlight that you just enjoy doing things better, right? Like, um, and and then the other thing of it too is it can be really uncomfortable for me how hard you are on yourself.
Um
Uh, like I kind of want you to like loosen the reins on yourself a bit. Because I can see the pressure that you build with yourself. At least I
mm,
think I can. And of course, it's you know, I'm sure it's exactly perfect for you to do this, but
mhm.
I get the impression that you're very hard on yourself with how you show up and where you're you know, where you're maybe not showing up the way you think you should, and these things I think are very challenging for you. So so there's a few layers of it um, where that type of discussion to me tends to come across in a very negative way, even though it's not negative in its nature. It's it's you know, it's good. It's a good thing,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
If we're not actively always trying to do better or our best, then you know what are we doing? So it's a good mindset. So but there's a shadow side of it, which is what I'm
Right.
talking about, right?
Yeah. There's a shadow side to every aspect.
Exactly.
So I'm just curious, if I were the exact opposite of that,
Ugh.
what would that be like for you?
Oh, I thought you meant if you were totally the exact opposite. I was just like, ugh. Like if you just switched yourself and were the opposite, you would be like mean, right? You'd also be dumb. You'd be very similar to what I described, right? But anyways, if you were
And I oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
if you were the
I think
opposite of the
mhm.
self-improving mindset,
Yeah.
I probably also wouldn't like that. Like
Yeah.
imagine me and you both being much more like me as far as like I don't get motivated by these things because when I was
Hmm.
7 or so, I got all that pressure. I took it all on, but
You
then
kind of shut down in that
yeah,
aspect.
and
Yeah.
it's actually what informed my letting go of it all in high school and just stopping caring about any of that
Yeah.
because I was pressuring myself so much.
Right.
And then, but if you were like that, uh, we wouldn't do anything, right? Like nothing would get done. We'd be like, we're fine. And we'll do a video a month or something, and or whatever.
We'll
I
start delivering pizzas or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. And like I've thought about that type of stuff. Like I wouldn't mind being an Uber driver or something, just driving people around, talking to strangers and things. Like I could do whatever job. There's a bunch of like really easy, simple jobs that I could totally do.
It
And I
seems
wouldn't care.
relaxing.
I wouldn't even
Yeah.
care. I'd still do
Yeah.
the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Still serve the way I can, and I just make pizzas or do whatever, right? And I'm not trying to downplay any jobs that are simple or anything, but I think what I'm trying to say is that I'm not interested in like ever having a career again where I have to like really.
Well,
Uh,
in something that's not aligned.
I don't want to have a career.
Hmm. Hmm.
The word career is disgusting to me now.
Hmm.
It makes me just go ugh. So I wouldn't even call what we're doing career or
Yeah.
right. I even the word business kind of
Yeah.
tickles me funny.
I know what you mean.
But yeah. So if you were the
Um,
opposite, that would be no bueno, no bueno. I think for us for our business, and then also like most of our relational improvement comes from this drive that you have as well. Because I
yeah.
don't bring stuff up so much,
Yeah.
but you go, we can do this better, and then you approach it usually in very benevolent, peaceful ways. Sometimes I get a little triggered uh, because my orientation is to not do that, and so when you're
Right.
doing it, I'm like, why does she have to do this, right? Um, and I recognize the value, so I hope it's clear that I'm trying to talk from the egoic mind that's resisting things that are a little uncertain, a little different from me, right? It's sort of it's very typical for the egoic mind to do that. So I don't participate as much as I can. I don't participate in these negative trains of thought around these things. I don't truly believe these things in my heart, and through all moments, I love everything about you. So there's no. I hope it doesn't sound judgmental in any way.
No, no, no. And thank you. That was sweet what you just said. Yeah, it's interesting to do this exercise. May I do it for you?
Please, please.
Okay, so what is an aspect that I find challenging about your personality?
Be
Um,
careful. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. As I say,
um,
as I start to talk about, oh, I have a big issue with self worth and judgment, and I almost guarantee what you're gonna say is gonna like destroy me. Let's go. I'm just
oh,
kidding. It's not gonna destroy me.
uh,
It's
um,
the energy's good.
well, I
I'm ready
think
for it.
I hope this. I don't think this will destroy you. I hope it doesn't. I think a challenging aspect of your ways of being, at least right now, uh, is the withdraw, the bit of the withdraw.
Mm.
Um, when when you just need some time, is you're not doing anything wrong.
When I get upset and I just kind of shut down and I'm not really open to do a lot of connection.
Yes,
Right. Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think
Okay.
that is probably the hardest, I think, aspect.
Ah. Okay.
Um, yeah,
That's actually great for me because that one I don't beat myself up over because I'm aware that it's literally just almost instinctual self-defense, uh, and I'm aware that I'm working on dissolving it, and it's a that part that thing. I'm not sensitive to that. So that's great. That's great. Do you have another one though that maybe I'd be sensitive to?
Well, can I play this one out? Because I
Oh yeah,
think
sorry. Yeah.
there's some interesting stuff for me to see about that. And then I can do another one if you want.
Hmm.
This is it. I think
I
this
want
would
one
be
that brings something up. You didn't
triggers
trigger
you a
me.
bit.
Like that
You want
was
me to, you're like,
yeah.
I want to get some meat
I
out of
thought you were
this.
gonna launch a bomb at me, and then you just like threw a rock, and you didn't even reach me.
I'm sure I can trigger you. I'm sure of
I'm
it.
certain. I'm certain.
But I just want to play this one out for a minute. And I think this is my PhD is in marriage and family therapy. I think this is such a great exercise to do with your partner. I think, if you can be in your God self while you're hearing this and not get too triggered.
Hmm.
But I think because in the end, I think what we're noticing is, oh, actually the things that we find challenging have brought us gifts.
Yes.
Which is obviously the meta perspective of everything that's going on in our lives. Okay, so I just want to play this out because it's interesting. Okay, so yeah, probably the number one thing that is challenging for me with you is that you sometimes withdraw
Hmm.
when you are emotionally processing things, or maybe you're a little hurt, or so okay, so where do I go now? If you were the opposite of that,
Yeah.
is that where
So
I go?
yeah. So there's two places that I think are interesting to go. One
Okay.
is if I was the opposite of that, how would that experience be? Um, and then if I was the other thing to look at is, of course, why is it so uncomfortable, right?
Right, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, let's start with why it's so uncomfortable. So I've talked about this a bit before in the stream. I realize I'm very anxiously attached to you, and probably other significant others in my life as well. So when you withdraw, my human can panic and
Hmm.
think, uh, just gets really scared that
Yeah.
maybe won't come back, or everything is so unstable. Where's he going? The tether has been severed. Uh, my human gets nervous.
Yeah.
Um, and so that has brought up a lot of shadow for me, and has helped me look at my childhood a lot more, where I think that began. And so it's actually been really helpful in the end, for me to see that. And and then I think I also have always carried this story, this fairy tale, Prince Charming. I think Cinderella mesmerized me. I think I loved I loved the story of Cinderella. I loved it.
Is that the one with the glass slipper and she's a
The
maid, and
glass slipper, she's a
Jamie literally
maid.
just said that she's the head toilet scrubber. It's because we were talking about career earlier.
Oh, cool.
I just thought it was interesting that you brought up Cinderella right as she said that. Very interesting. I'm
Yeah,
sorry for interrupting.
I think I was very taken in by Disney programming of
Mm.
my Prince Charming coming in and sweeping me off my feet and taking me to a castle and living happily ever after, and me not having to do my inner work. So I think there's still a part of me that sort of subscribes to this illusion that someone else is going to make me feel perfect. So when you withdraw, you are not there to help me feel anything, and I have to just go to myself. And I think I'm just still, there's a part of me that's still understanding that I am my Prince Charming. I am my Prince Charming, always. First and foremost, I am my Prince Charming. I like saying that. I think I want a t-shirt with that. I really like that.
When
I am my Prince Charming.
when I was a kid, I would watch those and I'd be like, so I have to save the women? all the women. That's my job. Is to what do I get? I get the woman. She gets to be saved, and I get her. She gets me and to be saved. What do
Hmm.
I get? I remember just being like, I don't, I don't like this role. Just
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
want
it
to be the
does seem,
princess. I want to be saved.
yeah, it
Save
does
save
seem
me.
a bit one way.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's interesting how that programming comes in.
Yeah. And um so I think this has been the perfect scenario orchestrated by our higher selves for me to come to that realization more fully that I am my Prince Charming. I just love saying that. I can't stop saying it. um so if you were the opposite of that, hold on one second. So if you never withdrew from me and you were kind of always there for me, I would probably have just become really codependent on that. And I think it would not have been good for the growth of my soul at all.
Yeah, it would
So,
probably be more temporarily comfortable, right? Like, you
yes.
know what I mean? Um,
And I've really noticed in my lifetime that spirit has just put me alone a lot for me to really, really, really ground into this understanding. If there throughout my life had been like one person that I could have really like leaned on, I would have. And I would not have found my own Prince Charming within inside of me, my own hero within inside of me. So yeah, if you had been the opposite, I would not have grown. I would not have expanded in this way. I would not have inner partnered. I would not have known that I am my own rock.
yeah.
And I, it's been, I don't know, the past few weeks that I've really, really come into this understanding that my number one goal, I'm not even sure I like that word, but my number one sort of intention or dream for my life is just my own inner peace.
Right, yeah.
That's it. And if you had always kind of been there, I don't know if I would have
You,
reached that
you
awareness.
wouldn't have you wouldn't have sort of been required to do this work, right? To
I
look at
wouldn't
it.
have had to. I wouldn't have had
Right.
to because I would have had the comfort of you always
So you
there.
may still have noticed this and may still have done the work, maybe.
I
But it
think
wouldn't have been
it
painful, or like it wouldn't have you wouldn't have had that impetus or that
I
motivation.
wouldn't have had the yes, that I wouldn't have had the seeking to heal the pain of that. If there's no pain there, I'm not going to seek out something different.
Mhm.
Not if I'm in total comfort, I'm not going to seek more. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
If I'm comfortable, I'll just stop there. So this was perfect. Uh, you having that sort of aspect of yourself, it would have been, yeah, it would not have been good for my growth. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, and I mean if you weren't so improvement oriented and constantly bringing no, I'm just kidding. And occasionally bringing up this feeling in me of like I'm not good enough. I wouldn't really I mean actually, you know, this I see this in almost everything from everyone all day. For some reason this is a thing that is so deep in me. I don't know how to not see this orientation of I'm not good enough. It's
Mm,
so deep. I don't know really where that all came from. It
mm-hmm.
can't just be the improvement award, but I wouldn't be able to work on it. Because especially after my awakening, I stopped caring what other people think at all.
Right.
Because it was too painful to care what they think about me. It's just
Yeah.
too painful. But I don't know how to not care what you think about me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why you're the only one who really triggers me. Like other people can get under my skin a little bit, um, and can say things that are a little bit difficult for me, but generally speaking, like if they think I'm not doing something well enough, I'm fine. I don't. I just sort of tell them you're not doing things well enough. Whatever, right? Like I just send it right back. And you know, so I'm grateful because it you know, I needed I needed someone to make me feel like I'm not good enough while also constantly reaffirming that I am good enough. And you do that as well. So you hit both of those. I can trust you, and you're very you're very complimentary to me almost always. And even when we're often you'll sort of start conflicts sometimes, and this is part of our method. And so we try to when we're conscious enough, we try to bring our method into our own conversations, but we try to start with complimentary things, stuff like that. And it's important for me to feel like to so basically it becomes very clear to me that it's not that she thinks I'm not good enough, it's just that I think I'm not good enough, and it's getting triggered by her words. She
Yes.
thinks I'm good enough, but she also sees ways to be better, and she's just speaking them out loud so that we can assess them together, and there's no issue other than me feeling judged and stuff, right? So um yeah, so I'm grateful for it. And I think what we're getting at, this practice that we didn't even practice this or think about it too much, but this seems like a very, very powerful thing to do with your partner, or even with uh any relationships that you're having difficulty with, um where
Yes.
you can assess this from this place of understand. If try to approach it from a place of knowing that they're showing us parts of ourselves that we were trying to heal. um then we can really notice that we actually don't want them to be different than they are. We probably don't. It's probably for our best, and this is a really good way to just see that really clearly, I think.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, it is. It's showing us once again that our soul knows what's best for us. The the human wants the sort of easy path, the comfort. The oh, don't talk to me about improvement, or me, don't run away from me or withdraw. The human wants just the immediate comfort. And the soul, of course, wants us to expand and look at ourselves and just become our God self as much as possible. And what's really interesting to me is the way you described me, and I would say the same about you, is it actually is completely safe. Like what you said is, I know that she loves me and accepts me as I am now. And she's not saying there's anything wrong or that anything has to happen. She's just sort of highlighting, oh, we could do this better. Um, and so both of those, that's helpful for you to have that like safe container, safe environment.
Yeah.
Um, and then on my side, you do withdraw, but you come back, and then you also have basically said, I'm withdrawing because I don't want to hurt you. And even when I'm withdrawing, I'm still partnered with you and I'm still here. I need some space to work through this. So you're not really, withdrawing on in a large sense. So it's safe. It's safe.
Yeah.
And you not always being there for me to like always, I guess, lean on, um has just helped me really reinforce my own partnership. and
Good.
then and then my own, before, my number one goal was, oh, I want to be in a partnership and I want to have my best friend, and I want that still, I do. But my number one goal has shifted to my own just peace, no matter what. is happening. And I'm still grounding more into that. I'm sure it will probably be an eternal process of grounding into that. That is the greatest gift I could ever receive, is that. Yeah, because if you feel like dependent on someone, or I need you to make me or my happiness, that's a horrible way to live.
Yeah.
That's a prison. That's
Yeah,
slavery.
that's not sovereignty. It's not freedom, right? It's yeah.
No, it's not sovereignty. It's not freedom. So
It could be a little
yeah,
frightening as well when even when you're talking, I can hear my ego going, "Oh, she doesn't need me. She doesn't," right? Like I can hear that a little bit.
yeah,
And you know, I don't sit in the corner. But
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
No, if
like
you were saying the same thing, it would probably trigger me as
but
well. And it's not, a need has like different
yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitions and everything. And I think it's like, I just want to know in my heart that I can survive on my own no matter what. Um, you are this amazing icing on the cake of my life that I want and adore. But I don't want to feel that if it wasn't there, I would just, collapse and die. So,
I'd like to say too, I'm I'm never going to go to like get angry or upset and then leave in a reactive way like that. Uh that isn't that's not how I approach the world. So you don't ever have to worry about that being a thing because I won't do that. Um I would be you know, I would never leave or make, you know, I may get into states where I'm like, I don't know how this can work or something. I may get like upset and get to that state, but I would never now that we've established much more of a foundation and much more trust, I trust you a lot more, almost perfectly. I think there's still some areas. It's just areas in myself really that I got to work on, but you know, when I pull away, yeah, it's really just me trying to protect you. It's I don't want to say things that I don't really mean. I don't want, you know, I'm stuck
yeah,
in like negative thoughts, and if
yeah.
I speak from that place, then like yes, it might be feel true to me in the moment, but it's not true. It's not real. It's just my anger, feelings, upset, whatever it is, and I don't want to inflict that on you. And
And
yeah,
And are you saying that so last year we had a bit of a break, um and I think maybe what you're saying is the level of trust and foundation that we have now, we probably wouldn't go through that again. Is
yeah.
that right?
Basically, part of what happened last year was that some of our interactions just highlighted to me, oh, she's never gonna accept me for how I am, like never. It just um you know, I think you were really struggling with accepting parts of how I was, and it's totally understandable. I'm a strange person, and I do things that directly contradict what you would expect and probably want in various ways.
Hmm.
And so I picked up on that very easily, and I was like, she's not going to stick around for this. Uh, it was sort of obvious to me, which obviously it was not right, but it was obvious to me that you would never accept me, that I was not good enough, and I also felt, and still many times feel, just not good enough, right? For you. And I wanted to say, Jamie wrote the whole "I'm enough" thing triggers me. She said because of freaking course we are. It bothers me that we don't accept we are enough, even as we improve, we're always enough. And Tassel got me this bracelet that says "we are" or "I am enough" in Morse code. and so I just wanted to trigger Jamie a little more. Um, I I don't know what it is, but it's that I am not enough feeling. You helped me to realize I am enough. Um, Helped me to be able to see that in myself. I could see it in others. I could see others' value pretty innately and fairly easily. Uh, but I couldn't see it in myself really at all. And so I just was under this presumption that I'm not really leaving you. You will leave me. I'm just, why
Oh.
perpetuate something that will end is kind of
Oh.
where I was at. And also I
Okay.
was and then also I was feeling really called by my higher self to just not talk to people, because also I was, every time I was speaking to anybody, I was feeling so hurt, like I couldn't even handle it. It was so triggering.
Um.
And then I also felt that I would do what in magic practice they call it crossing the abyss. I felt called to try to do that, and so in my sort of despair and loneliness and pain, I pulled away from everyone and tried to do that, because I just couldn't. I couldn't live the way that I was living anymore. I was not. It was a crisis, to be honest. It was a crisis. I may not have, like, there is a world probably where I wouldn't have survived that.
Mm.
And so it actually wasn't primarily about us as much as it
Mm-hmm.
was about like my brokenness that needed to be healed before
Mm.
we could come together. Um,
Yeah.
so now that a lot of that has been healed to a degree where I'm a little more stable with all of those things, um, yeah, it's, I'm not I'm not getting to places where in a rage I'm gonna just disappear, and then, and even if I did that, most likely it would be similar to what I said. I think I said on one of the days, Sunday or Monday, I said I need, can I'm gonna take some space or something.
Yeah.
um that's probably about as freak out as I'll get, um where I just say I need some space. And you know um and I think the issue, the one thing I can try to remember is to be a little more clear about what that means, so that, because I can try to be a little more cognizant of, I've taken space before and it was very, very, very hard for her and traumatic. So I can, instead of saying I'm going to take some space, I could be a little more specific, a little bit more like, don't worry, maybe reassuring, everything's okay, I just need to take some space. So I just wanted to say that, like, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna get angry and then throw everything away, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I built this castle as a toddler, and then I get angry and just smash it, and then I'm like, what did I do? It's unlikely for me to get that reactive. I think I'm a little bit too much peace oriented to get to that now. Um, Unless I'm being pushed. If I'm asking for space and I keep getting pushed, I might say something crazy. So, uh, that's always a bit of a warning. Uh, if if I'm in the corner going, and you're going, come to me, come, I might go, ah. So, but other than that, I think I think we're highlighting stuff for each other that's just perfect for us, and sometimes it
Yes.
is really hard for both of us.
Yeah.
And the funny thing too is, sometimes when I'm in that hurt, I don't know if I've told you this. You'll say, "Can we just connect? Can you?" It feels like you're closing off, and I'll just want. I feel this urge to like scream at you, "Stop attacking me!" And I won't put up my walls and stuff, right? You're not attacking me. It's just my perception.
Um.
But if you're not throwing rocks at me, I'm not going to put my shield up, right? Like,
Ah.
that kind of, that's kind of what I feel in the moment. I feel like I'm being attacked, right? So,
Okay.
um, and now it's changing a little, where I'm realizing it's not you attacking me. it's my own pain. It's me attacking me inside. And so it's a little bit of a shifting that's happening. And so the reason I'm saying that is that this behavior is going to go away. It's not going to continue this way. Um, this is
Yeah.
just remnants of past ways of dealing with pain, masculine programming, a whole bunch of stuff. So there is we are moving to a better place, I'm sure, and we will improve.
It's so interesting because I was just thinking the same thing. I was thinking that in the way our life works, when we have gotten the lesson and the expansion from the situation will most likely shift. So for you on your side, um, loving yourself and not judging yourself and realizing you're so perfect as you are now. Me on my side, being in my inner peace and not needing you to always be there. Both of us expanding in each of those ways, most likely the whole situation will shift
Yeah, yeah.
because
If
there's no reason for it
if
anymore.
I know deeply in my whole being that I'm perfect and great as I am, it doesn't really matter what anyone says, right? I won't get triggered.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not gonna believe them, right? Because what happens, even if they are being outwardly, directly judgmental, I'll just be like, "That's a funny joke," right? Like it won't matter at all. It'll
Yeah.
be
Yes.
irrelevant, right? So, uh,
It's almost like each one of us has, it's almost a similar flavor. Like yours is that you don't need me to accept you or not accept you. You accept yourself. And for
right,
me is that I don't need you to like always be there for companionship. That I have companionship with myself. It's
yeah,
similar flavors,
mm-hmm,
a
mm-hmm.
little different, but
I
it's really
think
interesting.
we'll find these patterns throughout plenty of these divine union, twin flame, whatever we call it, type
Yes.
relationships, partnerships.
Yes.
Um, that each is working on something similar. A lot of it is it's always about
Yes.
self love, always,
Yes.
because
Yes.
all love is always self love as well.
Yes.
So like when
Yes.
we're like when we're loving others, we're loving an aspect of ourselves, and when we're judging others, we're judging an aspect of ourselves. And so when we're judging ourselves, sometimes we project it onto others and judge them, right? So when we're not
Yes.
loving, so it's always a flavor of self-love that's being brought up um to the surface.
Yes. And I know we've been talking for a while, but I wanted to just bring up at least one other aspect of this. What if everything was opposite?
Mm-hmm.
So we can just broaden it to, so say like the most challenging aspects of my life or those challenging situations as I look through my life. Okay, well, what if they were all really easy instead? What would that be like? And
Boring.
like, yeah, the quick answer is yeah, it'd be boring. I'd be like happy probably temporarily or something, and then it would be kind of boring and I wouldn't be growing and expanding at all.
Yeah. This is why
Um
billionaires are making rocket ships and stuff trying to fly off the planet, right? They're bored.
yes, yes. Um and just like an easy example for me is say the custody of my kids. My human wanted to be a full-time mom and live with my kids all the time, and that was not my path. And if I think about, okay, well, what if I did have full custody of them? Let's say I'm still divorced and I have full custody. I mean, not that I wanted, I guess the ideal would have been I just stayed married because I wouldn't want my kids not to be with their dad either. But anyway, let's just say I was always with my kids. I know I would have gotten completely lost in my kids. Uh, I would not have been on my spiritual path. I would not have done my life's work.
You wouldn't have had the space. Yeah.
I Yeah, I wouldn't have met you. obviously. Yeah, I would have been engulfed in being a mom. And
Yeah.
it's great if that is your path. That just was not my path.
Hmm.
So, and I want to just also say it doesn't mean in all of this that there isn't some pain there for the
Yeah.
human. So
Hmm.
like even what you and I are talking about, there still can be some pain for my human if you're withdrawing. And I think I need to just honor that.
Hmm.
But the larger perspective is, oh, it is serving me. So I guess just that perspective of there may be pain. There
Yeah.
may be pain. There may be pain.
Yeah. And yeah, I'll say that I have the same thing with my kids. Like, I love them. I miss them all the time. I want to be with them all the time. But when they're here, actually by like Saturday or so, I'm kind of like, I kind of feel like I would like my space back, right? A little bit. And I feel really guilty about that too. So there's a lot of stuff that comes up around these things, for me. And it's even just saying this, I feel like a bad father for just saying that. But I think it's healthy to admit to ourselves our truth, and my truth is I feel like I have other things to do. Uh, Not that I shouldn't parent, of course, but that I have other things to do, and I'm not meant to be consumed by that role.
Yeah.
I'm meant to bring that role in and be there in a way that allows for both. Uh, and it's really hard. It was really hard because, like I would have preferred. I think, like, my human would have preferred to just have it all work out. You know, um, I don't want to, leave the kids, and they're going through pain right now. My older son is having some challenges with it that he's brought up. Um, and it's hard not to think that that's my fault, right? Like, I could have done better in the relationship. I could have, you know, there's lots about the relationship as well that I was confused about, that I was not seeing properly, where my ex-wife was showing up a lot to try to come together, and I was not able to receive it. I was not able to see it, and I was being ignorant. Um and I've had to really look at that in myself. So I do see my responsibility in the failing of it. Um and not that she did some things too, but uh a lot of the things she did were in response to me pulling away and stuff, right? So um I guess my point is just that it's, I think, really important to look at our true feelings about where we're at, and usually we'll find our true feelings align with what we're doing. Our truest feelings align with where we are now.
Yeah, you make such a great point in all of this. And I've been noticing it more and more that when I'm really in my alignment, when I'm really in my heart and I can really feel my higher self, that I do have peace around my situation with my kids. When I really tune into it, it feels this is actually perfect. This is how it is supposed to be for me in this incarnation. Cause like you, I have just this feeling I'm not just supposed to be the full-time mom to them. I'm not. I'm supposed to do all this other stuff for my life
Yeah.
mission. And so it's that, and then the human still can be upset about it, still have pain. But that's a lot because of the stories that I get attached to, that, oh, a mom should be with their kids all the time. Like that's what a good mom is. A good mom is with their kids all the
You
time.
can
And
thank
it's sort of
Hollywood
from,
again for that.
yes. And so one of the things that you and I have talked about is having a movie production company. And I would love to make movies that show these other stories
Hmm.
of, being on your path and it looking different from these mainstream Cinderella type stories, or
Yeah.
what a good mother story is, because I know I still am a bit influenced by it. Even just social media, if I'm looking at Facebook and I'm seeing pictures of these happy families that are together, and oh, my heart can still just break. Like,
Yep.
I wanted that. So it's just this constant coming back to, wait, what is my soul's purpose here? And I need to forget all these stories. Um, yeah. And then, sometimes I get comments from family members, close family members, about sort of judgment about my life path and what I'm doing, and that maybe I'm not being a good mother. I've had a lot of that, from a particular family member, and it's been very painful for me. Um, but I must come back to, I think the best modeling I could ever do for my kids is for me to be true to my heart and to be on my path. And that's all I would really want for them. That's what I want for them. So yeah, maybe I didn't stay with their dad, and there's some other things that people might judge about my life, whatever, but I I want them to live from their heart and be on their path.
Yeah. 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 That's the other thing too, is that's helped me a little bit, is to remember that the children chose
They chose us.
they chose us, and so
Yeah,
they
we
chose
chose
everything that
them.
comes with us, including our decision
Yes.
to work the way we work. Like, they are, when they were as souls, they were aware of what our programmed experience was meant to be. And so the
Yes.
idea would be that um, they
This
knew
is
that we would be separating, and there would be this opportunity for them to traverse these different challenges. They knew that as souls. Then now, as children, obviously they're not aware of that. So there's all the challenge still, but it helps comfort me to realize that they are aware, or at that level, they picked us that way, right?
yes, that's the number one thing that gets me through the pain of my children, is
Yeah.
going to understanding they knew and they chose this for their own. I love that you use the word opportunity, for their own opportunities to grow and expand.
Hmm.
um and yeah, so
Yeah.
making peace with what is.
Before we end, I just wanted to say that, you can do this as well with things that have nothing to do with relationships, right? Like, I'll just use the biggest one, COVID. What if COVID never came, right?
Yeah, right.
What if that never happened? So it forces us to look at some of the positives
Hmm.
around these types of things. And so what immediately comes to mind in that situation is, lots of fear and control stuff has really been highlighted for people.
Yes.
Lots of mandated rules, lockdowns, and government control being implemented. Lots of fear, lots of isolation that's come up, which has caused people to need to seek more within. So I kind of think of it as a tool that the Earth's used to help awaken its sons and daughters, really, right?
Yeah.
I see it sort of that way, and I'm sure not everyone sees it that way, but you can apply these things to every situation. Like, I lost my job, and what if I didn't? I would still be there.
Yeah, right. Oh my
Ooh, no,
goodness.
no, 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 right? Like,
Yeah.
and it was hard when I lost my job, and in the moment, it's not usually going to be super helpful because you're still tied to the thing. But now I can just look at that and be like, yeah, I didn't really want to be there so much. Like, my soul didn't want to be there, which is
Yeah.
why the universe. I don't know if I think I told, but I got fired 3 times in a row. Well, not fired, let go, right? Termination without cause. 3 times in a row, like within just months from each other. One of them was 2 weeks before my son was born. My
Oh.
fourth child was being born, and so I was like, um, like, and I was the sole earner, and I was let go. I was given like a week of severance or 2 weeks of severance, and so I'm like, oh my god, like, how am I gonna pay for, so when I said I've had to move through money things, right? We've talked about this before, where I've had to move through money discomforts and things, and try to be okay that I'm like I have no idea how I'm going to pay rent, how I'm going to do anything, right? Like, you can't typically find a new, like, and I was a senior IT person. There, it's not super easy to just jump into a senior IT role. Uh, all over there are not tons and tons of these opportunities, and then also to do it so quickly. Uh, I was like, oh my god, it's more likely that I'll have to kind of start a little lower. I probably won't make as much money. Oh my god, I won't be able to afford it. I had just got a new house and a new car, that I was paying like double what I was paying, triple my housing cost and double my car cost because I had doubled my salary. So I, and then I got let go. So I was like, oh my god, what have I done? Right. Um, but if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have traversed those money issues. I wouldn't be here doing this. I the whole I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be who I am, right? That's the key thing, I think, in all of it, is to be like, I wouldn't be the person I am if these things happened differently than they were, than they did happen. And then the other thing that I really like to notice about this is, um, when we dynamically uh, what's the word, we choose to look at these things with our different perspective, we can suddenly see that, oh, the situation looks totally different when I look at it like this. And then we realize, oh, I've just been choosing to look at the other side of it. Like, I don't have to look at it that way. And it becomes very obvious to us that it doesn't have to be garbage. It doesn't have to be crappy. It doesn't have to be a nightmare. It can be great for you. And in fact, the truth of it is that it is great for you. And so if we just kind of constantly remind ourselves that the thing that is the most hard or terrifying for us is actually great for us, and that's where we usually find our real strength, our real self, our true self is usually hidden in these areas. So not just relationships, right? Apply this to anything in your life that's going poorly, or anything
Yes.
that you're judging as bad. So,
Yes.
they're,
You can take the opposite
you just take the
framework.
opposite framework. You can
Right.
realize I can just look at it however I want, right?
Yeah.
There's no rule that says I have to think this is bad, right? I
Yes.
can just
Right.
choose to look at what is good about it, and there's always something good about it. So, like, I'll
Yes.
use an example that's really hard for a lot of people, and hopefully it doesn't trigger anyone. But Satanists. Uh, there are Satanists that worship, uh, Lucifer, and Lucifer, the Prince of Darkness, is also called the Lightbringer. And the reason that Lucifer is called the Lightbringer is because it's through the darkness that the light is seen, right? So, but there are people that worship that, and I could say, well, there are some concepts in there that are very misunderstood as well. The media has totally confused all of that, but those people find peace with that orientation, right? Whether I agree with it or not, and the only reason I have issue with any of those types of things is because we're worshiping external gods, and so whether it's Lucifer or any other god or deity, when we're worshiping anything other than the God of in all, then we're giving away our divinity in ways. So, but even the giving away our divinity can be seen as a a flag post to bring us back to our divinity, right? Because it's through giving it away that we go, oh, I'm giving it away, and we bring it back. So all of it, no matter how wacky and crazy it is oriented to bring us back to ourselves. And
Yes.
you can apply this
Yes.
to the most horrendous things you ever witness if you want to.
Yes.
Um, and that can be challenging. It can be very challenging, and it's deep work to transmute very fear-based negative paradigms into love. And when you do that, you're healing the earth. The entire earth is being healed when you do that.
Yeah. So it seems like for the human, when we think we are losing out on the external, it's always this opportunity to gain on the internal. We
Mm-hmm.
always end up eventually unearthing our own gifts, and what could be a better situation than that, just to unearth our own gifts rather than worry so much about the gifts on the external. Like, rather than what do I have on the external, who am I becoming on the internal? Isn't that the most amazing gift or success
Mm-hmm.
you could ever have, is who am I becoming rather than what's going on outside of me? um and of course, it's only our consciousness that we're leaving with at the end of this lifetime. So just, it's really all that
I'm gonna have them
really
bury
matters.
me with my money. So yeah, my negative $200. They're gonna bury me with that negative that negative account balance. Uh, um, yeah, I think the external is literally sort of there for us to realize that we can experience lots of amazing, beautiful things through it.
Yes.
Of course, and also we get so many amazing gifts, right? Like, if I didn't go through all this trouble or challenge, I wouldn't have met Tassel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have experienced a lot of these beautiful things that you know. It's just weird to even think about. Like, I would not be happy. I wouldn't be happier back, if I were to just stay in my job and everything was status quo. I would
Yeah.
be still in a nightmare, pressure cooker nightmare. So,
Yes. In non-alignment.
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we can totally apply this to everything, and let go of our judgments of things being good or bad, or and that's the ultimate goal, is to realize that there actually is no inherent nature to anything other than love. It's
Yes.
all love, which makes
Yes.
everything also neutral. It's all positive, right? So
Yeah.
uh, everything is neutral in that way, and it's our mind and our experience and history that we project
Understood.
onto it to know
Yeah.
ourselves, to see
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Beautiful.
beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on this video. If you enjoyed the video, it helps to like the video, it helps our work, and to subscribe to the channel. And we have just an amazing Patreon community. We had a wonderful gathering last night, where we went over connecting with your higher self, and Sean just shared so much
Last night
interesting
was
information.
awesome, and we had a bunch of people show up, and we went on way later than we thought. Hours long. It went on a couple hours longer than we thought, but there was just so much talking and a connection, and I think everyone got a lot out of it. I was really happy with how that went. I was buzzing sort of all night. And then, also I wanted to say that we are going to start to try to do some weekly things, weekly events where we come together. And then we'll also be talking. We're talking about offering something free every month, so that people can come in, if they're not able to join the Patreon but still want to participate in those. So we're trying not to leave anybody out. Yeah.
Yes. And the link to find out more information is in the description below, but it's also just patreon.com. That's patreon.com/ the doctor and the wizard. And to actually join the community, it's as low as $5 a month, and you get so much for the $5 a month, including Sean's metaphysical monthly gathering, where you can ask him so many interesting questions, and he has so much interesting information to share.
Yeah, and I might start doing live channeling in that as well. That I'm hoping
Yes.
to be my vessel for that to come out. And
Yes.
and I don't want to say it's just about asking me questions. It's more about a discussion, I think.
Yeah.
It's not just asking me questions.
Yeah.
It's more like I see it more like a discussion, a round table of discussion of experiences, maybe mystical
Mhm.
experiences, and then various people talking about various galactic entities, extraterrestrial entities, um, various magic practices. It can go all over the place. Um, all that esoteric stuff is like that's my jam. That's my jam. This relationship stuff's important, and I enjoy it. But this other stuff, the esoteric kind of more mysterious, wacky stuff, that's where I really get all fired up. So, um, I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, and I think you're going to have one on Tuesday, this coming
Right.
Tuesday.
Yeah. So Tuesday, this Tuesday, whatever day that is, that will be the first one. And, I think what I'll probably do is invite, and for the first one, I'll probably invite people for free. I might just invite all of the YouTube community to come in and just everyone
Awesome.
just to get an idea of what it is. And also,
Yes.
I think it'll be really fun. And so the first one, I want to make sure there's a bunch of people there and all that. So I think that's the way to do it. And then also, I'm considering creating a course for the Law of One. Um, and I'm not sure yet how I'm going to deliver it or what I'm going to do. I want to try to do it for free with a premium option of some kind. So I think that's where I'm headed towards. And if anyone has uh, any other topics for courses or anything, please let us know because we are interested in what the Patreons want. So if we are interested in hearing that, we'll totally take that under advisement. And let us know if there's particular topics that you think you'd benefit from as far as courses go. We're always actively listening to the community. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you
awesome.
so much. So much love to
Thank
everybody.
you, everyone. Thank you guys all for watching. I just wanted to say Joe and Jamie have been chatting, and I've read it all, and some of it was kind of hilarious, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you. Take care.